So good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Oh, life is calling and the world is beautiful.
All right, we are ready to start our interview with C. Reinhold, the author of Blood in the Snow. I'm not going to reveal his first name because it's up to you to go find it. So, C, let's start with your book here. So, you got Blood in the Snow. I think it'll be curious for people to know, when did you actually start writing the book, and how long did it take you to get that first book published?
How long did it take to write, or how long did it take to publish? Because those are two very different things.
Yeah, so let's start with the writing of it.
For the actual, once I sat down and actually started typing on the keyboard, for Blood in the Snow, it was really probably only, a few days. Like I did the first one in a week right there, so maybe 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that.
Okay, great. And now, since you mentioned the publishing, was that something new you had to go through to figure out how to publish that in Amazon?
Yeah, that was a learning curve to say the least. It honestly, the editor was the biggest portion that I was really surprised with. I had no idea what to expect there, what what the costs were and things like that. So that was a little bit of research and time to try and get that.
Yeah. Well, very important, because I want readers to understand that there's effort that takes place that goes beyond the actual writing. So, for them to finally have that electronic Kindle read, they don't quite understand the blood, sweat, and tears and time that it takes to get that out there. So now let me ask a second question. So we're going to take some excerpts and ask you about this here, about your book here. But, for whatever reason, you chose an environment, and it could be this world, could be another world, but you chose an environment that was in the north. It was bitterly cold, and the descriptions of that tells me that you at least have some experience in cold weather. So is that true? I mean, do you have that experience, and did you pull that out in order for you to write this description?
Yeah, I grew up in the mountains, over 7,000 feet, like the pine forests and stuff. So I have been in snowy situations and cold forests like that. So yeah, I did really think about those times a lot when I was writing those scenes.
Yeah. So let me read in the very first page. This is what drew me in, of all things. I mean, I saw the first sentence, the wind blew in from the north. That was fine. But this was the one that caught my attention. The tall pines moaned as the wind cut through their bogs, blowing bits of icy dust into the air to mix with the gently falling snow. I mean, that description cannot be made by someone who's never been in an environment. I grew out of Chicago, been in Minnesota many times. We moved out, my family and I moved out to Washington State. And I am telling you, that is a perfect description of that environment. So why did you choose that environment to be the background for your story?
Mainly because it's harsh. And for this particular group of people and this race that I'm writing about in this particular book, it's very important to understand that it's a harsh environment, but they're thriving.
Yes, that's actually well done. So can you give us a definitive description, not necessarily a description, but can you tell us something of what is a Worven?
The easiest, quickest way to say it is, just imagine a werewolf, but, they don't transform back and forth. They are in that permanent, wolf humanoid state.
Yeah. Okay. And, what I loved, again, I bookmarked this book. Probably I shouldn't have gone as much here. But the fact is, and I want the readers to understand that the way you wrote the characters, in particular Kelser, who is the main character, You made sure that throughout that first book, that you supported this concept of this ambient, or this real type of character, this Worven. And so, for instance, you have I'm not sure I'm saying his name correctly. Vegard is his brother, right?
Yeah, Vagar. Yeah.
Yeah. So Vegard, when he finally, and again, I'm not gonna reveal much of the plot because I want people to go out there and read it. But in a portion of the book, Vegard has rescued his brother, and his brother wakes up and he says things like, "Dad about took my fur off when you didn't show up," or the comment like, "We'll both get our tails yanked." I love that you kept the consistency of their reality, which is I think makes the book even easier to read. I mean, was this? I mean, you had to be thinking about this purposely, right? To support.
Yeah,
them.
it was a very conscious effort, like, and I'm trying to, like, put yourself in these positions and imagine, like, this is you and this is how you've grown up and all the things that would be normal for you that are kind of odd for us. And, there's things that I struggled with on that too, like in that particular scene that you're talking about, like what they're, like the mother's cooking for breakfast and things like that. I'm like, well, like I kind of struggled with this a little bit, going back and forth on the finer details. Are they only going to eat meat, or, as a more evolved type of species, like do they have a wider palate than we would normally associate with wolves?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I write my books, I write about humans. I have never taken a perspective from a human-like being, and I'm sure that's got to be a challenge there. Let me just tell you, if I had to pull out one of my favorite lines in the entire book, it's actually repeated multiple times, and you probably know what I'm going to say here. One of them was actually on page 6. "You're not the only dangerous thing in these woods. Make sure you don't become prey yourself." And then the following page, "He wasn't the only thing with fangs or steel that killed things in these woods." And I'm going to tell you why that was such a powerful statement out there, because you already set the expectation that this harsh environment wasn't just harsh because of weather. The weather didn't make it easier, but it was a very harsh reality that there was always somebody hunting somebody.
Yep.
Right. And so you create that particular environment. And I'm going to miss the list here, but think about this. The book opens with an elk being killed. Kelser, the hunter, kills them. So, all right. So there are going to be hunters like Kelser. And then all of a sudden, they run across these Southlanders who are killed. Well, we don't know what killed them. And then all of a sudden you see the showing up of a blood mane. Real quick, what is a blood mane in comparing to a Worven?
So I'm just going to back up for you 1 second here and going back to that line that you were talking about. The funny thing about that is I actually had to fight with the editor because they wanted to take that line out.
Really?
They wanted to change it because the editor didn't understand what I was trying to say there. So it really makes me happy that you pointed that out as being impactful to the story for you.
Yeah, awesome. And that is my favorite line, by the way. So yeah, so what is a blood mane?
A blood mane is, as you go, I don't know how much I want to give away here.
Oh yeah, don't give anything away.
They're a clan of the Worven who have been outcast from the standard Worven for society, and some of the things that are mentioned in conversations going forward is about how they do raids on the Southlands and stuff like that. And so the blood manes are kind of one of the reasons that the Worven have a bad stigma about them, where humans and some of the other races in the Southlands are scared of Worven. It's pretty easy, you think of a medieval fantasy setting, like you have a werewolf walk into town, everybody's gonna grab their pitchforks and torches, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, you know what I love about it is because that is not unusual in the human experience, right? Where you're going to have a band of humans who decide to act contrary, maybe very dangerously. And I loved about that because that shows the complexity in the environment of your characters. And I'm telling readers here, when you start reading this, you are going to find yourself bonding with some of these characters in a way that you are not you'll be surprised. So anyway, so now we see this danger in this environment. So if we had the blood main, and of course, once that occurrence happens, there's a smilodon that comes in, right? So there's a snow cat, this huge cat, and then there's that confrontation. So you almost get this feeling that throughout the entire trekking, just try and get home is a very dangerous experience, right? So it is a very volatile experience or volatile environment that you're in, very harsh. But these characters and these characters, because you've got Kelser, you've got Vanguard, Jarek, who is the brother-in-law, if I can use that kind of term.
Yeah.
But you know, this journey home, you get a sense here that there's a relief when you finally get there. And there's a nice release here at the end out there. So I think you've done a tremendous job of laying out an environment, producing a foundation that will lend really well to the next series of your books. How many books are you looking to write in the origins for Kelser?
For Kelser, let's see, we're on book 4 now, so I probably somewhere 6, 7, maybe 8, depending on how it goes forward. Some things, you know, like you start writing them and they take a little bit longer to flesh out than you anticipated. But yeah, that's where we're expecting Kelser's to be at. And the entire Origin Chronicles will probably be probably around 25 or 30 books. You know, I mean, we're calling them books, but obviously they're short. So
yeah, they're very short, but I got to tell you that the quality of the writing makes up for the shortness. And I would encourage people that, you know, when you're spending the money and you don't get a good book, remember that you paid that. So when you come here, they're going to find a fabulous story written really well. And see, I'm going to tell you, I have become a fan. As soon as I hang up, by the way, I meant to follow you. I will be following you because I think you are a great writer. I'm looking forward for a long series of things coming up from you. Well, this is Mike again, trying to do an interview with the Uncharted authors that people need to know. Again, C, thank you for taking the time and conducting this interview.
Happy to be here, Mike. Thank you very much.
This feeling's running high. Oh, life is cold.